Hi, welcome to Terry Wilson's Limited. Today we're going to be showing you how to do a full installation of the wool acrylic worktops from start to finish. So let's get on with it. We've now cut the worktop to length to form the male side of the joint. We've got standard jig, standard clamps, a standard router with a standard tungsten carbide bit in it to create the joint. Now we're going to router the male side of the joint. Right, we've created the male side of the joint. Now we're going to create the female side of the joint by turning the worktop upside down as standard. Now we're going to router a groove in the face surface of the joint to accept a loose tongue. Right, we'll just quickly check to make sure that that is a snug fit. It's a little bit tight is that at the moment, so I'll just lower the blade a little bit more. Just keep trying that until it fits in. As you can see, it's just a nice snug fit is that now. Also make sure that when you do cut your groove in that it is touching the underside of the solid surface. That will provide a watertight seal. Right, so we've now got the joint done. Just sanding this off now to get rid of that rough burr that you get when you cut chipboard with a router cutter. We've now got two grooves in here which we can check and place both of the loose tongues in, making sure they fit firmly, and then we need to try the tops together thoroughly, and obviously on site you need to make sure not only does the joint fit but there's no gaps around any back walls. Okay, beautiful that. Right, we'll get these blocks, which are just ordinary softwood blocks, stuck onto the surface at either side of the joint so that we can actually pass a clamp across them so that it's held in place while the glue cures. Plenty of glue on there, making sure that you don't get any of this on your skin because it burns. Right, we can angle these two blocks on the front to ensure that it's actually pulling into the corner as well as pulling the joint on its length together. The hot melt's going to take 2 or 3 minutes to cure fully, so we'll give it a good clean with surgical spirits. You can buy this at any good chemist. And what we're doing is we're degreasing the joint. It's very important is this, because not only does it get rid of any dirt that might be in the joint now, it also gets rid of any grease as well, which might stop the glue from doing its job. So give that a good clean, shouldn't be a problem. Right, we've got a special two-part adhesive here. Actually on the adhesive it gives you a colour, which every colour of worktop that we've got should come with the correct glue. And we've also got a date. Just make sure that the date has not gone out. This is a special applicator gun that we'll be slotting this into to actually do the gluing up with as well. Put that in. Right, off we go. Always waste the first squeeze of this glue, just in case that end has got any airlocks in it. And then make sure you get plenty in each groove. On either side. Make sure we insert these in. the tongues. Further near the front, the better, really. This front edge here. Then I'll be in the middle. And then on the bottom, I'll go on this side with the bottom though because I can't quite get my gun under there. Then we can bring the joint together. Don't worry about any excess glue on the surface, it will come off quite easily once we start to sand. What we do is we leave a small gap in the joint and then we fill it with glue. That ensures that we get a further joint without any gaps. Push it together. And we can add as clamps. Put the front one on first so we know it's going to pull it into the corner. And there we go, that's that. Now I know we've got a few tongues in this, a couple of tongues, we just need to make sure that we do check that it is level and use the nozzle to do that, making sure that you do overfill any parts that you've removed. And when we've done, we can clean the excess out of this corner, and this corner only, and there you have it. At that point you can then get underneath, inside your carcasses and screw down the tops flat to hold them in place. So we've let the glue cure for a good half an hour now, but just bear in mind that on colder days it could take a lot longer than half an hour. So what you need to do is just stick your fingernail or thumbnail in it and check to see if it is solid. If the glue's moving about, you need to leave it a little bit longer. Get the excess off with a chisel. Right, there we go. Now the glue's dried and we've got rid of all the blocks, we can now actually start to use a belt sander to get the surface nice and flat. It's very important though that you keep the sander moving at all times and do it on quite a wide plane there. Don't worry about the scratches of the belt sander, we'll get that out with the orbital sander later. We've now got us a random orbital sander out, connected up to his vacuum of course, and we've got a set of discs here that we're going to be sanding them up. They actually start off with a rough 100, working its way to 150 to 220, then we've got a couple of what we call Scotch Brights to bring that final finish out. And then we'll finish off with a grey Scotch Brite. Right, we've got a jig here now to actually cut away for an undermounted bowl. We're using a router with a standard setup, but what we're going to do is actually cut through the top surface first with a router and then take the bulk away with a jigsaw. So just literally jig the bulk of it out. I'll sling this down here. Right, so now ideally I need to finish this off with a router. We're now going to remove the template. Once we've done that, we can put a small round over bit into a router so that we can have a nice smooth curve on the top side. Then we can put a drainer in. Once we've done that, we can then turn it over to reduce the chipboard so that we can then fit the sink. We've got a special drainer groove bit here, and what we're going to do is quickly clamp us jig down onto the surface, and then we can get a drainer put in. We don't really want to be going no more than 3 mm deep. Right, with the pads we've already got in the kit, if we wrap it round something like that, we can then sand the drainer up. Just give it a quick rub, making sure that you thoroughly get all the marks out, the cutter marks that is. Finish off with the 2 pads. Right, we can now clamp the jig on the underside to remove the excess chipboard. That'll do fine with that. To put an edging strip on, before we start, we've got to make sure that it's clean on the back edge with a sanding block, get it all nice and clean, and also, yet again, we've got to take this burr off of this edge. Very important is this. Once we've done that, we can then dust it off. Then we get a clean rag, get a spirit again and give it a good clean down. And there we go, that's ready now to be glued up. Coating this up with glue now so that we can stick this end cap on. Make sure you get plenty on, because where there is no glue there will be a gap. And what we can do is click that on there, like that, hold it in position, and there. Just make sure that it is fully covering this end, which it is now. Tap them in, then we're going to tap these in to hold it in place. There you go, there's glue coming out of the whole of the seam on the top edge. Not that bothered about the underside, but that should take about 30 minutes to cure again. Right, we can now remove the clamps off of this end, put them to the inside, and then with what is effectively a laminate trimmer we can trim this flush, making sure that we do put his goggles and masks on, because it does get a bit messy at this point. Once we've done that, we can then get another router with a round on it and put that on. We can now get a sander out, and with the same pads that we used earlier to finish the joint off, we can sand this edge up. Right, so now we're going to move on to slab technology, and what we're going to do is we're going to show you a slightly different method of gluing up. You've got two halves of slab technology, and by trimming both sides of the joint with a router and a straight edge, of course, we can then literally glue us blocks on like we did before, and then give it a good clean with some surgical spirit, and then we can actually glue the tops together. We need to obviously give it another clean with our surgical spirit. Right, we've got the correct colour here, which all the information is on the pack, and all we simply do is with a silicone gun plunge this into the back, thread it into your silicone gun, tighten it up, then we can remove this nozzle, then you'll find underneath it a cap. Get rid of that, then we put on what we call a mixer nozzle. Make sure it's tight, then none of it will spill out. And there you go, you're ready to go. Obviously we need to first start by wasting a little bit of the glue, just in case there's any airlocks within it at the top. Get rid of that, then we need to put 3 beads on here, top, middle and bottom. This is quite a thick glue, so you've got to bear with it, and then at that point we can bring it together. Yet again, as we did before, we just bring it together and leave a little bit of a gap there. I tend to find that it will reduce the chances of any gaps being left. This front edge, we can obviously put a clip on. At the back edge, you need to make sure that it's flush before you start. Just put that on for today because there's no support. Then we can get our clamps out and nip that up. Right, we can leave that for 30 minutes, but with this glue, it doesn't go hard, it goes to a sort of like chewing gum state. Once it's at that point, we can then scrape the excess off with a chisel. It should come off quite easily. Yet again, we don't have to worry about light scratches on the surface from the chisel because, you know, they can be buffed out. But get as much off as you can. And this is where it pays if your tops are level when you actually glue them up. And if they're nice and level, you could actually literally buff that back down by hand. But today we're going to actually speed things along by getting a sander back out and giving it a once over with that. That just about wraps it up for today. We've shown you more or less everything that we can do, but if there are any more questions, you can contact us by his website or even give us a call. Thanks a lot. Bye.